Support for podcasts comes from Milwaukee School of Engineering Center for Professional Education, offering courses in AI machine learning, project management, and more. Program information at msoe.edu/CPE.
You're listening to Lake Effect Spotlight from WUWM, Milwaukee's NPR station. Here's one of our favorite conversations about the people, places, and organizations that shape Milwaukee.
This month, WUWM has been looking at ways that schools are addressing low literacy rates among Milwaukee children. But what about our city's adults? 1 in 4 adults in Milwaukee reads at or below a third grade level. Thousands of adults have sought help through free programs offered by Literacy Services of Wisconsin. WUWM education reporter Katherine Kokal met with Literacy Services Executive Director Holly McCoy-Perez at the organization's new headquarters in the Brewers Hill neighborhood. They discuss how strengthening reading education for young children can have a snowball effect on future generations.
When I say illiteracy in adults, what comes to mind? When you think about that and how it kind of comes up for your clients, what are things that people really struggle with if they struggle to read as an adult?
So typically with adults, which 1 of 4 Milwaukee County adults is reading at or below a third grade level, what we mean by literacy, and specifically low literacy is typically how we frame it, is, literacy is so many components, right? There's multiple components of literacy. There's the reading, which is typically what everyone thinks of with literacy. And then there's writing, speaking, listening, but also viewing and representing. So typically where adults struggle is with more informational text and specifically decoding it enough so that they can reach whatever goals there are. So typically our students are interested in advancing in their career. They already work, but they would like to move forward in their career. They'd like to enter post-secondary education, or for many of our students, they need to complete a high school diploma. But completing a high school diploma isn't as simple as I made it to 11th grade, so I must be at an 11th grade level. Typically, what we see on average with our students is between a 3rd to 5th grade level in terms of reading scores on a standardized test when they enter our programming.
So what does that look like to be an adult moving through the world with a 3rd to 5th grade reading level, which I'm sure people don't know until they seek out your services. But what are some things that people can struggle with specifically in their lives if that is what they're dealing with?
Typically, it looks like job applications can be really the language used on a lot of job applications or directions in general can feel overwhelming. Doing tasks that require a lot of paperwork or multi-step processes can be really overwhelming. A lot of times students will, rather than just saying, hey, I'm struggling to read this because there's obviously a stigma attached to that, they might say something like, oh, I forgot my glasses. Can you help me, look at what this says? But even, ordering something off of a menu. Bus is a little bit easier now because there's the app and it just tells you how far you are and how to walk. But at one time, just navigating a transit schedule. So it's some things that we just kind of do day to day that we don't think much about. Those are the things that can become a struggle and can really make people sort of retreat or feel fearful to seek out the appropriate help.
Yeah. And I wanted to talk about that because I've talked to teachers about talking to now 4th graders, 6th graders, and 10th graders about being self-conscious about their reading. And all of those teachers say, yep, you have to be really careful because this is something people are very nervous about talking about. They're embarrassed about it. And those are children. So I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the stigma / the feelings that come up for people when they realize that this is part of their life.
So for adult students who enroll in our programming, typically what they will cite upon completion or moving on to their next steps is that when they first entered our doors, they definitely felt anxious of judgment, anxious because they weren't sure if they could achieve whatever it is. Our adult students have lots of different goals, so I guess it really depends. But also for our adult students who come in and do struggle with low literacy, they're wondering if there's something that's wrong with them. And typically what we do is when we give them their enrollment assessment, which even that can create immense anxiety, we let them know that we are not testing them to judge them. We are testing them to see where they are at so that we can meet them where they're at and support them from there. And I think for our adult students, they oftentimes cite like traditional school didn't work for me because I started to feel it's really about feelings that I couldn't do this. And our schools struggle with large class sizes. That allows a lot of folks to not get the proper support they need. And so when response to intervention at a grade school level breaks down and it no longer can support that student, by the time they enter high school, the other things going on in their lives oftentimes have them say, okay, I'm just going to give up and I'm just going to go work. And I think when students walk through the door, they're just very anxious, like, can I do it? And our job is to show them that they can.
Yeah. I'm wondering if you could kind of walk me through the traditional program. I know no two clients are the same and no two students are the same, but like if I'm an adult and I've realized like, wow, I can't help my kid with their homework because I'm really struggling, I really want to get this straightened out, and I walk through your doors, like what happens next?
Yeah. So when a student is interested in signing up for classes, they either walk in our front door and we sign them up for an appointment, or one thing the pandemic did help us do was move into the 21st century. So folks can sign up to enroll online on our website. Right. And when they attend, they're set up with a testing appointment, and they also meet one-on-one with one of our staff members, just so that we can better understand what their ultimate goal is. Is it to complete their high school diploma? Is it to improve their math or reading so that they can enroll in college? Again, lots of different goals, so it really does depend. But once we get a feel for where they're at academically and what their goal is, we then talk with them about the multiple classes or programming that we have. So students could get a one-on-one tutor if they were more interested in individualized instruction. We work with MATC, so students might enroll in an MATC class and get support there. They might do both. We also have classes that are literacy services staff-led, so lots of programming. I mean, typically on any given week, this particular location will see anywhere from 400 to 500 students. So there's always something very actively going on. And then we also walk students through how either enrolling in that class will get them to the next point in their academic journey, or what we can help support them with after they complete whatever it is their goal is. And for some students, they're in our programming for 6 months. Some of our students are here for 1.5 years. I would say on average, our students are here for about 1.5 years. And most of our students, if they're looking to complete their high school diploma, likely left high school during their 10th grade year.
Interesting. Why specifically 10th grade?
I don't know. That's just what the data. So when students enroll, we collect data on where they went to school, what school, how many schools did they go to, and then also what the last grade completed was. So typically after 10th grade is when we see a lot of our students.
Yeah, interesting. Do you have anything that we didn't talk about? I mean, we didn't talk about a lot that Literacy Services does, but anything that we didn't talk about that you think is important for the story or for people to know?
When we educate parents, we educate children. And I just want to emphasize, I think, the importance of thinking about learning from a generational approach. And I truly think that we have a lot of the foundation of what we need. We just need to work together better.
Yeah.
And I think everything is very siloed. And I think that that's good. But I'd love to see more programs that are inclusive, and also think more about how information is presented specifically to parents. Even knowing that, some parents struggle with literacy, I think it would be interesting to see more parent-driven materials or flyers or events that are thoughtful around the language used and the way in which we invite parents in.
Holly McCoy-Perez is the Executive Director of Literacy Services of Wisconsin, which provides free reading programs for adults. She spoke with WUWM education reporter Katherine Kokal for her series on literacy called Turning the Page, Teaching Milwaukee to Read.
That was the Lake Effect Spotlight podcast. It comes from your local NPR station, WUWM. Subscribe to the Lake Effect Spotlight podcast to hear more great stories about Milwaukee.